Good evening, everyone. Recorded by Richter, back with a brand new music segment for you. Tonight, I am back with a review for you, and that is for the highly anticipated album, The Fall Off by J. Cole. I have it right here. If you haven't heard it yet, I am going to do a track-by-track review. It is a double album, so that was quite the process. So I hope if you guys are, I'm assuming if you guys are here, you are here because you're J. Cole fans, or someone that's interested in the whole big three conversation happening and everything. So I'm gonna cue you in on all of that and my thoughts on everything, because I am someone that has been following Drake, Kendrick, and J. Cole since the very start. I've seen all three of them since before they even had their first albums out, when they were just on their mixtapes. So I think I'm a pretty good person to judge this and everything, as I've been there through it all. But anyhow, let's see, let's put this down for a second. Before I get into this review, I did want to offer my thoughts on criticism and also how I went about reviewing this album in the first place. First of all, I typically stay away from reviewing artists that I don't like or I find the music to be lazy. There is way too much good music out there to listen to for me to be wasting my time and talking about stuff that I don't think is good. I will, however, offer criticism to artists I love who fall short on the delivery, the product. I think it's important to hold artists to a standard so we don't settle for bullshit while we get ushered into this world of, AI that is designed to get you used to just dull blah, So anyways, that's where I stand on that. I would like to say that I am a J. Cole fan. I've been seeing him live since 2011, so that's where I'm at with it. Let's get into this. 29 intro, produced by J. Cole to start things off. Conceptually is J. Cole taking a trip back to Fayetteville, North Carolina at 29 years old. So to start the album, we hear Carolina My Mind by James Taylor playing, presumably to paint the picture of Cole nostalgically driving back to his hometown, thinking positively and reminiscing. It quickly shifts to make you think that there's a gathering or a party happening, as in the background you hear several different voices laughing, talking, and shooting the shit. The speaking settles to a more whispered voice questioning a car in the distance before you hear gunshots, and it immediately transitions into the first real song on the album, 2-6. 2-6 is produced by T-Minus and Omen. If you didn't already put it together, 2-6 is a representation of the area code in Fayetteville, North Carolina, 026. So right after you hear the gunshots, it cuts to J. Cole repeating 2-6 dudes wild. The whispery delivery here feels very Drake to me, if I'm being honest. The first bar is, if I wasn't rapping, I might just be the president, which I'm not really sure what that means. This whole song feels like J. Cole puffing out his chest a bit, talking down on lesser performing rappers. I'll be honest, I'm kind of tired of this from Cole, especially after how everything went down. But this is supposed to be from a 29-year-old J. Cole's perspective, so it kind of makes sense, because if you rewind 12 years ago to 29-year-old J. Cole, we are on the heels of Forest Hills Drive. It makes sense for him to have that attitude, being that that's his most well-received album. The production on this song doesn't do much for me either. In the second verse, he seems to be interpolating Sexy Red's song Ski. One interesting sentiment he shared on this song that I thought was kind of funny was people seeing him as a hippie because of the way he dresses in baggy sweats, but really beneath the surface, he was living this life very luxuriously. It ends with Cole singing "Fell Off and Fell on My Face, but I know I'd find a way." I'm gathering this sets up for the next narrative, but it's confusing to me because in the timeline, that's when Cole was at his most influential. So he wouldn't really be talking about falling off yet, I don't think. So I don't know. I'm just, I still have to live with this. It's a long album. I need to live with it more and more and more. So I'm sure my feelings will change over time, but this is where I'm at with it right now after, sitting with it for some weeks. Right after that, we transition into a very boom bappy beat for Safety. Safety is produced by DZL, J. Cole, Powers Pleasant, Suki, and Wu Ten. Safety kicks off with some hard-hitting drums and vocals being a crying baby. This is the first mention of Bunce Road, which I'm gathering is a main road through a downtown Fayetteville, North Carolina, much like Woodward is in Detroit. Beat grabbed me as the 90s boom bap is highly influential on me. It's the era that I grew up hearing, so it's the most pleasing to my ears. I don't know if that is a good thing. It might just be nostalgic to me, but it does feel nice to me. It feels New York to the core also. Now, this is a storytelling record of an incarcerated friend of Cole's calling him from the jail or maybe freshly out of jail. And more so than a phone conversation, it is several voicemails that this friend is leaving for Cole that he's unanswered, because he's too busy with everything going on in his life right now at 29, he's blown up and everything. In these messages, it feels a lot like a friend attempting to catch up with Cole on home life news and even talking about the passing of friends. This part is strange because they mention fentanyl ODs, and fentanyl is a much more recent epidemic, so that kind of wouldn't make sense in the timeline, but I'm being a little nitpicky here. Safety to me, as it's repeated in the hook, kind of feels like North Carolina slang for one love or peace, something that people end phone calls with, showing each other love between friends, Now the third verse could cause some controversy, as it's a friend reflecting on a childhood friend of theirs who was gay and seemingly died of AIDS, maybe in the timeline, because they talk about him getting sick and stuff, and that may not be the case, but it seems like it from the way they frame it. And that's what the friend is guessing and reflecting on, and the ways of their homophobia and how they were wrong for it. So in conclusion, each verse feels like a separate voicemail to Cole unanswered. This to me is my favorite type of J. Cole record. I think he excels the most in storytelling records. I really enjoyed this song, and it ends with the sound of someone turning the car off and getting out before transitioning into the fourth song, Run a Train. Before we even get into this song, I'll tell you I hate the title. Run a Train is produced by Juan Tetra, Gladdy Jr., and T-. It kicks off feeling like you're waking up on a spring morning, kind of. It feels light, and there's some string orchestration happening until the drum kicks and you get a more intense vocal from Cole exclaiming, "The few know about my passion, the few know about my pain." The song feels like Cole doing some soul searching, and it has a very introspective narrative as he reflects on who he is, what made him, and where he's trying to go. As deeply as he's attempting to go on this one, it's just kind of all right to me. For whatever reason, it doesn't grip me up as much as, let's say, a record like Once an Addict off his album KOD from 2018. Anyhow, the song ends with a sustained operatic note held before ending with some piano keys, which transitions into a similar boom bap beat on Poor Thing, the fifth song on the album. Poor Thing is produced by J. Cole and a laundry list of other producers. This is another one where the beat isn't doing much for me. It's sort of hard to explain sometimes with J. Cole. He's rapping very well on this song, but there's something about the delivery that doesn't quite grab me in the same way as Kendrick will when he does something that he wants to bring you in for and really get you to pay attention to. Kendrick is a master at playing with his voice and knowing when to say stuff and when to have space. I do like the sentiment of this song. It seems he's telling the story of a young kid corrupted, young by the environment that he lives in. Presumably he's talking about Fayetteville, North Carolina. I don't know what it's like around there, so I think that what Cole is trying to do is bring us closer to that. The next voice is back to Cole's perspective, seemingly responding to a local rapper who had been saying stuff about him. The third verse, he's puffing out his chest at him pretty hard, and I know again, this is supposed to be from 29-year-old Cole, but this energy just falls flat to me post-battle. I'm sorry, it just does. This has a horn outro transitioning into my least favorite song on the whole album, Legacy. Legacy is produced by J. Cole and T-. It starts with Cole talking on the phone to, or practicing talking to, a woman who sends him to voicemail. The song may be the message he leaves to his wife, I'm thinking. Then it gets to Cole singing, and I'm just not into his singing voice at all. Nothing wrong with Cole making songs about his wife, but this is a perfect example of why I think it's dumb that Cole thinks he can do everything himself. Just hire someone who can actually sing. Next, we get my first real standout of this project. The first song that really dialed me in, and that is the Alchemist produced joint featuring both Thames and Future, Bunce Road Blues. Bunce Road Blues to me is further proof that Cole should have gone after the best producers instead of trying to do it all himself again for the most part. I think he performs better on these songs by other producers too. I don't know how to explain it, but J. Cole attacking the vocal performance on this record with much more vigor than anything we've heard leading up to this song so far. I feel like it has something to do with it being an Alchemist beat. I think rappers have a different energy when they're trying to impress a legend like Alchemist. That or just him doing the beat lets Cole solely focus on the bars and the delivery of those bars. He came out the gate swinging on this song and it grabs my attention immediately. I also love the subject matter of what he's rapping about on here too. This also serves as a reminder of the importance of bringing in a feature, especially when it comes to singing. Thames absolutely bodies her feature on this. I can't help but to think of what this project would have sounded like had Cole brought in several amazing women to sing on it instead of himself, because there is a decent amount of Cole singing on this album. So you have Future on this track as well, doing an Usher interpolation of 7 o'clock on the dot. Future is the perfect person for parts like this. You really don't need a whole verse out of Future because he really is never saying anything. But a pre-hook or something like that is perfect. Hems, she's a sniper. Her feature on Dave's album from last year was a standout on his project, and she's done it again on Cole's. Her vocal is such a unique breath of fresh air to me. I just love the way she sounds. She has a whole verse and hook here, and it pretty much gets the same amount of airtime as Cole. And so I'm happy that Cole just kind of let her cook and get like a whole long verse on this. The song ends with some string orchestration before transitioning into Who TF Is You, which I'm sure you can gather what that stands for. Right here is where we have the three best tracks in a row between this, Bunce Road Blues, this, and the next one. Who TF Is You is another strong offering from Cole. It's produced by Coleman, FNZ, J. Cole, T-, Steve Bildaroo, and Vinyls. And this one sort of has a Meet the Grams vibe as it kicks off these minor piano chords that give the track this dark and droning feel to it. I'm into darker stuff, so I enjoyed it right off the rip. And then Cole gets to warming up with a series of okays, okay, you know, and it kind of starts with Cole pumping out his chest a bit before the verse really starts. The rapping here to me feels very early Eminem. Super impressive rhyme schemes with dark imagery. The song almost reminds me of Marshall Mathers off Marshall Mathers' LP, until just over the halfway point we get a beat change and something that sounds way more southern and almost reminiscent of early big timers. I think this is a good point to also point out that this is heavily themed throughout this album. J. Cole is interpolating and paying homage to all the influences and kind of wearing them on his sleeve almost to a fault, I would say. He also shouts out 50 Cent's Get Rich or Die Trying in this verse, and he does have a COVID bar in here too, which is strange because we're still supposed to be in the 29-year-old Cole timeline, so COVID hadn't happened yet, but I'm nitpicking. But I just, stick to the concept, bro. Kendrick wouldn't have missed that. Anyhow, this then transitions into another piano-led beat for the song Drum and Bass. The third song in a row that I really love on this project. Produced by Juan Tetra and Gildy Jr. Again, this song is also a bit of this bravado, pumping out your chest, but in much more of a somber tone. It dips into introspection when the verse gets moving, and rapping is top tier on this one. The beat is beautiful, and it definitely stands out on the album. The second verse brings you in close by painting a picture of the struggles of poverty in the area that he comes from as he kind of looks around as he's driving. He discusses feelings of guilt for living this life of luxury while this is happening around him in his hometown, and it ends with him at the club and running into a former flame of his, which I think maybe he's talking about his wife. I think they got married around 2015, so maybe this could be a rekindling of their relationship. I'm not entirely sure, but he makes other references to the girl outside of the club later throughout the album, so that's why I think that. There's also 3 separate songs on this project about his wife specifically. This ends and transitions into these classical guitars playing a Latin-inspired riff for the let out. The Let Out is produced by Steve Bilodeau. I'm butchering this guy's name. I've never heard of him before, so I apologize. Bilodeau and T-. The guitars then turn into a more of an electric acoustic guitar strumming pattern. And this one's a bit bizarre because Cole starts rapping kind of like Busy Bone from Bone Thugs in this like melodic way. And it's clearly an homage to Bone Thugs. It definitely feels that way, at least to me. The song doesn't do much for me though, if I'm being honest. I think this song is about Cole entertaining going home with said woman before drama and gunfire sparks outside of the club where he saw the woman in the previous song. I don't know, this one is just not that good to me. The whole song is about the dangers of lurking in the parking lot of the club after it lets out and trying to make it back home. It then transitions into song 11, which is Bombs in the Ville / Hit the Gas, produced by Boy Wonder, Fierce, J. Cole, and T-, which Boy Wonder is one of the OVO in-house producers, so J. Cole must be somewhat good with that team still, I guess. This one feels like he's in the car and getting out of that situation that he was just in the previous song. It seems like this one is him pining over the woman he ran into after the club. I'm having a hard time figuring out if this is actually his wife that he's speaking on, but that's what I'm going with. Like maybe they had split up and now he's seen her again and all the feelings are kind of flooding back, that sort of thing. There's a pretty strong final verse on this song where he's speaking about his kids and stuff, but I'm not sure how that fits into the timeline either, as his 2 sons weren't in the picture until 2018 and 2020. And according to this 29-year-old timeline, this is supposed to be around 2014, 2015. So, you know, do with that what you will. The song ends with him saying, "Life is a film that could not be rewound," which is sort of the concept of this whole album, is J. Cole rewinding through his life's journey through the music business. This transitions into another slower tune with a downplayed vocal delivery for the bonus track called Lonely at the Top, and that rounds out disc 1. It's produced by DZL and Wu-Ten. The tone matches the concept of the song, but it doesn't really move me that much. The theme here being that the fall off is inevitable for anyone in any field who has made it to the top of their game. Now we arrive at disc 2, titled 39. 39 now jumps a decade in time to Cole returning home again, this time a year shy of 40, which in the timeline of culture is right around the time that the beef with the big 3 happens and Cole backs out, apologizes to Kendrick for dissing him on 7-minute drill, and then goes home to reflect on it a bit as Kendrick and Drake, continue to go after each other. According to Cole in his statement, it was those events that inspired this project to be a double disc, which makes me think Kendrick is really a bully, man. He's really the Candyman, the boogeyman, whatever you want to call him, because he got into Cole's head so much so that Cole went and wrote 12 more songs about it. I'm joking around a little bit. Not all of these are about it, but it forced Cole to reflect, and I guess it made him realize he had some more to say. So anyways, Intro to 39 is produced by FNZ, J. Cole, and Steve Bilodeau, T-, Vinyls, and Wu-Ten. And it starts with Cole's underwhelming singing voice again. He's kind of singing over these acoustic guitar chords. It's very trippy and spacey in the production. I enjoy the production, but Cole's singing voice is just not it, man. And once Cole stops singing, the track gets pretty awesome, I'm not gonna lie. It almost gets into this Pink Floyd territory of the production. It almost reminds me of what Lil Yachty was doing with the Black Seminole on his project from a few years back. But then you hear gunshots in the same way you did on the intro to disc 29, which is sort of a cool callback, and the beat switches to a much more hip-hop sounding record. Cole then gets to rapping, and Cole raps well here, but like a lot of the stuff on this album, to me, it just is kind of there. I feel like Cole's delivery of his bars are underwhelming to me, and they sort of just feel monotone. Like from a technical standpoint, J. Cole is a great rapper. No one can take that from him. What separates the big 3 is this. Cole and Drake, even more so, are fine, like microwave dinners. It's there, it will get the job done, you'll probably even enjoy it, and you're not mad at it at all. But Kendrick, and now his younger cousin Baby Keem are like a gourmet meal. I mean, they attack the vocals in different ways throughout their song, changing their cadence, the tone, the flow, and the which they do to draw you in for dramatic effect. They know when to say a lot and they know when to have space. They're going to give you sounds that will challenge your palate as a listener and make you think or give pause. They will make you stop and rewind and go look something up after. I seldomly get that from Cole, and I truly never get it from Drake. If I'm being honest, there's a laundry list of rappers I find to be better competition for Kendrick. They're just not as popular as people like J. Cole or Drake. But let's get back to the album. That intro then transitions into track 2 on disc 2. The Fall Off is Inevitable, and this is one of the best songs on the entire album to me. It's produced by DZL and Manassi. This one I have spent the most time with, as Cole released it prior to the album coming out as disc 2 track 2, which this also makes the Clue tape over the Bad Boy beats, which was released prior to the album, make more sense too, as the album is pretty heavily themed in, musical influences. So that makes sense with the Clue tape and all that stuff, and how influential to people of my age, Cole's age, those Clue tapes were in all the mixtape era. Anyway, The Fall Off is Inevitable. Now we have the name of the song, and it's super cool conceptually. It seems to be paying homage to Rewind by Nas, and J. Cole is telling his life story in reverse. The song is just really well done, man. The beat is cool, the raps are great, everything is great. Even the video is very cool. Anyways, that transitions into track 3, The Villist, produced by J. Cole and Omen. Now, upon hearing this beat, I recognize this flip as it samples Mobb Deep, featuring Kool G Rap, The Realist. Earlier in the summer, The Alchemist and Erykah Badu released this song, as it was supposed to be from their project together. And I'm not sure what happened, but now it's on J. Cole's album featuring Erykah Badu. But it doesn't have The Alchemist as a production credit, so I'm sort of confused on what happened there. I would love to get some more information on that. But anyways, the original Mobb Deep song that this comes from is one of my all-time favorite hip-hop songs, so I was already feeling the beat. And also something that's interesting here is if you pull up the credits, Andre 3000 and Big Boy are listed under the writers, because later in the song you'll find out that J. Cole interpolates Elevators by Outkast. This song feels like Cole going through his old rhyme book, reflecting on his career. I think Cole's raps are pretty great here. I wish the delivery was a little more engaging, but he's talking about what shaped him as an MC and what helped him become the artist that he is. Unfortunately, there's some cringy lines to follow with the whole "you're gonna respect the mulatto" thing, which is kind of strange for him to call himself that, as it's a pretty antiquated, offensive term for mixed race people. So it felt kind of odd. I don't love him singing on the hook either. I think I'd rather have Erykah Badu sing it, but he has her more in the background for some reason. Anyhow, that transitions into Old Dog featuring P.D. Pablo, who is also a legendary North Carolina rapper, most notably known for his song North Carolina, and that's one's produced by J. Cole. This song takes a harder turn with some grit to it. It's got some real bounce to it. I like the beat here, and it kind of has like a Tupac thing going on and samples T.I. Cole is rapping with some more bravado in his delivery, which I like. It's more interesting to hear him like this. P.D. comes in on the hook and kind of interpolates his own song. This song has T.I. in the credits, as it definitely interpolates money, hoes, cars, and clothes. Da, 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 da. You know that song. I'm sure I did it justice, right? But anyways, that transitions into the 5th song, which is on the softer side now, which is a song about his wife called Life Sentence, produced by T-. This song doesn't really do it for me. It's cute, it's fine. I think it's a little strange that he made a dedication song to his wife called Life Sentence, comparing his relationship to a jail sentence was an interesting choice. I mean, his lyrics are much sweeter in it, but it's just a weird title. But anyways, it also interpolates DMX's How It's Going Down with Faith Evans. This song, which he This is something that he does a little too often on this album. I know that's kind of part of the tied into the theme, but gets to a point you're like, all right, man. But anyhow, then that one transitions into a spacier song, and it's got more Bad Cole singing on it, and that's Only You, produced by DZL, T-, Luca Motti, and it features Burna Boy. But Cole, for whatever reason, thought he'd do the singing instead of having Burna Boy do it. It's another record dedicated to his wife. 2 in a row seems like a bit much, but you know, it's Cole's project, not mine. This song doesn't do much for me either, if I'm being honest. It's a bit of a boring delivery. Then that transitions into the next song, which starts with him interpolating, with the sample at least, is kind of interpolating Marvin Sapp's Never Would Have Made It. It's called Man Up Above, and it's produced by T-. Tiana Taylor has also used this sample on her album Keep That Same Energy, produced by Kanye. I think that was around 2018 or something like that, 2017, 2018. It seems like he's telling the story of someone in his neighborhood who died by gun violence. I felt the sentiment here, definitely. The beat is still a little bit on the sleepier side of things, and then for some strange reason, he also interpolates J-Lo's Jenny from the Block on this song. The second verse is another person from his hometown who is caught a case and is now, you know, watching his kid grow up from jail. So, you know, it's definitely gets you in the sentiment. It's just the delivery just leaves a little something to be, you know, I don't know. This goes into the next song anyhow, and it's another interpolation, and this is a pretty cool concept, and it's called I Love Her Again, produced by J. Cole, and that's because it samples both the legends Bobby Caldwell and Jay Dilla. They get writer credits on here. Rest in peace to both of them, and happy birthday to Dilla, whose birthday was just on the 7th of this month. You know, happy Black History Month as well, because that's also February. Anyhow, this song samples The Light by Common, but it's a continuation of a different Common song, I Used to Love Her. Continuing the double meaning concept of where it seems like he's rapping about a woman, but he's really talking about hip hop. Other rappers have done this concept as well since Common did it, and as recently as Kendrick Lamar's GNX with Gloria. He's speaking about his pen. Vince Staples has done it, talking about it kind of in a different way, where you think he's talking about a woman, but he's really talking about a gun, or, you know, vice versa. You kind of have to decide for yourself. I do love the intensity in which Cole attacks this song vocally. I wish he would do it more often. The next song, it features singer Murray and is produced by Beat Butcher and Tay Beast. This one makes me feel kind of weird, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just interesting and conflicting. On one hand, I commend the concept, but it also feels a bit odd him trying to put words in Tupac and Notorious B.I.G.'s mouths. It's, you know, Big and Pac are not here anymore, so it's kind of strange that he's rapping from their perspective, like apologizing to each other, and what if they, you know, had made up. You can kind of decide on this one, but it's just, I don't know. I feel odd about it. But it's not lost on me how much Cole does love these two artists, and I don't think he's trying to be intentionally disrespectful, so I'm gonna let it slide. Anyways, and you know, interesting little tidbit I'll add here is the first time I saw Cole live in 2011, it was at Bonnaroo during the middle of the day. Cole had a day one Thursday slot at like 4:30 in the afternoon, hot as hell in the middle of Manchester, Tennessee. You know, this is before Cole had blown up. All he had out were mixtapes, and so but I was already early on him. Because that's one thing I credit myself for. I have an ear catching these artists early on their way up. And he covered both Tupac and Big during his set at that show.
This on tour a while ago, I figured, wow, they got all these incredible rock bands out here who we respect and we love. They get to cover their favorite artist songs. Why the fuck can't we do that? So, all the homies I ain't talked to in a while. Send them something out for y'all. Hey, 'cause I ain't mad at you. Hey, heard y'all tearing up shit out there, kicking up dust, keeping them up.
So I thought it was pretty cool to now, you know, hear that this is part of his influence in this whole concept that he's doing on this album. But anyways, that song transitions into Quick Stop, which is another slower song, and it features some orchestration, and it features more Cole singing. It's produced by DZL, J. Cole, and Omen, and it seems like this song is a voicemail and goes into storytelling record of Cole driving and stopping at a gas station and getting approached by a fan. The song is pretty cool. It starts rapping from the man's perspective that approaches him, and you can hear the pain in his voice as he's rapping about his circumstances, and I liked that, and it was different than how he sounded when he was coming from his own perspective while driving through Fayetteville. And the hook leaves a little something to be desired, but the song is cool. That transitions into another slower paced boom bap record called The Whole World Is the Ville, produced by Aziz the Sheikh, Boogs, and FNZ. This is a whole song paying homage to his hometown. It's a bit of a love letter. This one is just kind of meh to me. I have no connection to his hometown, so it just kind of comes and goes for me, if I'm being honest. And then finally, it transitions into the second bonus track and the final offering from the album. This one is titled Ocean Way, produced by David Lindbergh, J. Cole, and Ron Gilmore Jr. This one returns to that kind of Pink Floyd feeling in the production that we had on the intro to this second disc. And this is Cole singing again. I enjoy the production, but his singing voice is just terrible here, and I just don't know why, as an artist like J. Cole, who could tap any singer on planet Earth, wouldn't just do that. Really makes no sense, especially with this being positioned as his retirement album the way he did, and saying that he wasn't going to release it till he knew it was his very best work. I feel like that did him a disservice by doing that during the rollout, because for me personally, it put the expectations at a super high level, and it definitely did not meet my expectations, if I'm being honest. There is songs that I think are great on here. I might grow to learn to love more of them as time goes on, but as a whole, and as far as the big three, man, it really feels like Kendrick is here, J. Cole is here, and Drake is in the basement. Like, that's just how I feel. I just don't feel like Drake or J. Cole are even sniffing Kendrick's artistry. I feel like leaps and bounds better than these guys. And now, sitting here recording this, yesterday Baby Keem's Casino was released, so I will be doing a 2-part video on Baby Keem's Casino. The first part is going to be me reviewing the album. I have the vinyl coming in the mail. I've listened to it 5 times already, but before I record it, I'm going to spend some more time with it. And then the second part will be me reviewing his concert, because I got floor tickets to see him perform in Detroit on the Casino tour, and that's in May. So the second part will be coming out sometime after May, so probably early June maybe. And so I'm excited about that. I can already tell you off my first 5 listens of Casino, I like it significantly more than The Fall Off. And I'm not saying The Fall Off is bad, and don't kill me if you don't like it, but please engage with me in the comments. I love talking about hip hop, so as long as you keep it respectful, I'll get back to you. And please like, share, and all that fun stuff too, because I'm a one-man machine. I don't put any promotion money into YouTube or anything like that, so it's all kind of word of mouth and spreading around on my social media and stuff. But anyways, it's already been super long, so I'll leave you with that, and we'll see you next time. Peace.